we'll just bring Jay on when he's ready, shall we? I don't want to keep you guys waiting any longer. We're trying to set up. Jay is just sorting his kids out. This is Forever United TV. I'm Adam. Welcome along to the show, everybody. I don't keep you waiting too long, unlike some people, for no particular reason. I just wanted to make sure that Jay was set up. You know what he's like. You know what he's like with his sound sometimes, and we just want to make it perfect for you guys because we have got a lot to get through tonight on the show. We're talking about Manchester United now being completely out of the top 5, let's say. Ten Hag has been bigging up the chances of making the 5th spot. I think Spurs ultimately have put it to bed today. I want to get your opinions on that, and I want to get Jay's opinion on that. But what I also want to do is turn that into a bit of a positive for not making a top 5 and what might happen this summer because we're not there. Please give the video a like, guys, and make sure you're hitting that subscribe button if you are tuning in for the first time. I'm Adam. The reason why I'm over this side, oh no, it's that side, isn't it? Yeah, this side of the of the studio is because I am expecting Jay to come in. Hopefully he doesn't let me down and leave me stood here so you guys can see the rest of that side of the studio all stream. But he will be. He has said he's sorting it out. He's just putting the kids to bed. I think that's what's going on right now. But how is everyone doing? A quick shout out to everyone who was in with me on Tifo earlier on with the live stream over the City and Liverpool game. Fantastic stream, getting better and better and better every single time we go on it now, guys. We are going to be opening it up to everyone soon. We are just ironing out a few little problems and then we'll be on full throttle. It is going really well right now, guys. So that's taken up most of my day, and apologies for the later show tonight. It is Mother's Day. I've not done much. I've been that busy sorting stuff out. There's kids' football to deal with. Then you've got the paper round that we did this morning, and in between, Kaz has been playing football, and obviously we've got Mother's Day on top of that. So we need a little bit of time in between, and I really appreciate you guys hanging on there and doing the late show as well. I mean, come on, seriously though, there is absolutely bollocks all on TV at the moment, is there? So you'd rather just sit down and talk football. And we're going to talk proper football tonight. I want to get into this top 5 race. I mean, I didn't see Spurs smashing Villa 4-0 today at Villa Park. I didn't see that coming. And ultimately, I feel like that is our last chance of getting Champions League football this season. I think it's done and dusted, personally. I put a poll up in the chat, and 75% of you were saying that there is no chance that Manchester United will make Champions League football this season now. And we all know what Sir Jim Radcliffe said. We all know exactly what was said in that interview and how important it was for financial fair play to be in the Champions League. It helps everything out. But Manchester United now are in a situation where, with the games we've got left, I just don't see us being able to haul back 8 and 9 points, which is a difference between Villa and Spurs, respectively. Spurs with a game in hand on Villa as well, so they'll move into the top 4. Then we'll be chasing Villa down. Yes, they've got injuries. Yes, they're still in Europe. But with 10 games to go, with the games that we've got and the way we're playing and the injury list we've got, I just see it very unlikely. And, well, to be fair, if Manchester United did get through this spell, I would gladly take the L and stand up and say, I'm sorry, Eric. I didn't think you had it in you. But hats off to you. And we move forward with Ten Hag into next season. But I do fully believe that the club are in a position where they are going to get rid of Ten Hag. I'm really worried about the weekend against Liverpool. The only hope I've got is that players are coming back. But forget that. Let's put the FA Cup aside for 1 minute, for more than 1 minute actually. I'll concentrate on that later on in the week. But the real reality right now is Manchester United's only positive is what is going to happen in the summer when we have the restructure, the reset, and everything like that. So what I said at the top of the show, I want to spin a positive on Manchester United not making Champions League football. Now, what that does mean is that there is no excuse for anyone at the club or at the hierarchy or this new structure to then hang around, or deal with any hang-arounds, i.e. the players, the letdowns, the underperforming prancing ponies, as we call them. Well, we call them a lot worse on a match day, and yesterday it was pretty brutal outside Old Trafford. Apart from the odd, weirdly confident football fan who thought that we actually could make Champions League and even win the league next season. I don't know how people think or what people are watching, but it's not the game I am. I just feel like us being out of the Champions League is a bonus in a way. The more I think about it, and I've had my Adam thinking cap on again, sorry, but you know you love it when I start thinking up my conspiracy theories and my other angles on things, and I just looked and I thought, do you know what? Spurs and Villa deserve to be ahead of us. I think everyone below us definitely don't deserve to be in that sixth position more than we do. Inconsistency, I think, sets in past Spurs. So you go to sixth place and us, and we are top of the league of the best of the rest when it comes to the Premier League. The inconsistent lot. So in that, you've got your West Hams, you've got your Newcastles, your Chelseas, Wolves, Brightons, all of that mix. That's where we are. That's our level right now. That's what Manchester United are. We are a team that is in flux, doesn't know which direction it's going. We know there's a manager going. The players are throwing the toys out of the pram, and everyone is upset with everything going on right now at the football club. So don't expect to move much further than where we are. 6 is our position. It's where we belong. I don't think we belong any lower. Well, we could do, because there's only, as you can see, the table there. In Brighton and West Ham are right on our coattails. If results don't go well over the next few weeks, Manchester United could be struggling to make the Europa League. Now, that sounds like it is a bit of a scaremonger and everything like that, and a negative slant on it. But, again, if you don't like reality, then you're in the wrong place, because that's what it is. We have still got to play Brighton at their place, and we know what our record is like there. So, I look at it and I go, it will just prove that these players are not fit to wear the shirt. It will force Ineos to sell players to then finance this overhaul a little bit more, because we are going to be missing out on a hell of a lot of cash when it comes to the Champions League next season. So how do we make up that cash? We make sure that we sell players to counter what our losses are from not being in the Champions League. That means that we sell Mason Greenwood. That means we sell Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho. All of these players that we've all been calling for to go out of the football club will end up moved on, and we can start a proper fresh, because it's not going to work with these players hanging around. So in effect, if these players actually do turn up the rest of this season, and you know what, we want them to, we really do, but no one's going to forget the early first part of the season. So if they do scrape by, there's still going to be masses and masses of scrutiny on all of these players. And if we do get into Europe, it's still going to be obvious that Manchester United's squad is not good enough, and the finances are not going to be there. It doesn't matter if we get Europa League or Europa Conference League, then that money is nowhere near enough for Manchester United, and we are going to be full on stuck with no extra revenues coming in from European football, UEFA and things like that. It's just going to be, right, how do we manage this now? How do we manage a rebuild without any extra finances coming in? Sir Jim has said this. Sir Jim has to fund a stadium. Sir Jim has to keep Manchester United going. He has to change his squad. He has to invest deeply into the squad and make sure that Manchester United are competing again. We do have Jay coming in shortly, guys. I am just going to... let's see now. I'm just going to get hold of Jay while I'm just talking to you guys. Bear with me 2 minutes while I just sort Jay out, everybody. He is raring to go. He has told me he's raring to go. He's got a lot to say because he missed out because he's been away for so long. But yeah, we'll see what he has to say on all of this. I think we have him. Hopefully we do. There is my man Jay. Jay, can you hear me okay? Talk to the people.
Adam, good evening, sir. Good to be here. Good to be back.
Good, mate. Did you have a nice trip in Prague, first of all? Let's get all the nice stuff out of the way, buddy.
Let's just say, if you're familiar with Bloody Lovely on tour, that was it.
Nice. Nice.
If you know, you know, Adam. If you know, you know, my friend. We'll leave it there.
Yeah, well, I was just talking, Jay, and I've put a poll up in the chat. I've spoken to the chat already and where we're at with Manchester United right now. Today's results mainly, I think, have just pretty much condemned United to no Champions League next season. My opinion. We'll get yours on that now. I was also just trying to spin a positive that it will force Ineos to make money elsewhere. In that, we'll then need to sell players that we know need to go, and could actually be a positive for the start of this rebuild that we don't make the Champions League next season. Now, obviously, everyone wants to be in the Champions League, but can you see where I'm going with that, first of all, Jay, and a tiny little bit of a silver lining out of this big negative?
Yeah, I can, and I can see you're trying to put a positive spin on no chance in football because let's be fair, this season we didn't exactly show ourselves in glory, getting knocked out of the group stage. So if this not making Champions League football means Ineos are going to come in and do a root and branch. We call it a Hunger Games style cull of the playing staff, the coaching staff, and I obviously assume the staff in Carrington. Well, then long term, I think we reap the rewards. However, if it's only coming in and getting rid of the manager, which I think with chat would agree is a dead man walking, and keeping such players as Jacob Rashford, I think we could be having the same conversation, Adam, in a year's time.
This is it. I mean, you look at that squad, Jay. Where do you think the money is? Where do you think the money is in sales from this current Manchester United squad? Who is that player? Who are them players that we could actually get some serious profit off?
Okay, Rashford's got to be worth. If you just look at his marketing rights and all that, probably go for upwards of 60 to 75 million. I think PSG would bite your hand off on that. I think he's the kind of player that PSG wants to globalize their brand. Yes, go ahead.
Just in the chat there, keep going in a second, mate. I'm just going to say to the chat, actually, as Jay's talking about these players that he thinks should be leaving Manchester United, you guys in the chat put a price tag on them players as well, and let's see where we get. Carry on with that, Jay. So we talked about Rashford being one.
Well, I suppose he's the most obvious one that we got to get rid of. The next then, as you move down the list, my old mucker, Harry Maguire, he's got to be worth still 30 million. He's still a
you reckon
darling.
He's worth 30 bags, mate? Yeah.
I reckon you get 30 bags from him. Think about it, right? He's going to be nailed on to start. Yeah, but listen, he's going to play in the Euros for Ole Gunnar Southgate, who I've dubbed him. He's going to play in a low line. He's going to play in a low line in a back five, besides Stones. He looked like a half decent defender. And I think, in actual fact, the better Euros England have, the more we're going to get for Harry Maguire. So yeah, I think we'll get some money for him. I say 30 million plus. I'd love to see what the live chat would say on that. Then moving forward, I think Varane. Almost like Varane's a player, but he is injury prone. None of us here are doubting the man's ability and what he's won, but he's very injury prone. So surely somebody or some team in the Saudi League in Saudi will drop 20 mil on him. So that's 50 mil straight away, plus the 70 mil from Maguire. So you're up now at 120. Your problem is then when we move into midfield, what would you get for like Scott McTominay? I suppose a lot of people would say I'll keep him as a squad player. Casemiro, would you get 10, 15 million for him? So what? Now, say that's 130. And then who's left then that we can possibly get some money for? Anthony, 75 mil current market value, 30 for Lucky. That puts us about 160. Bissaka, would you get 10, 15 million for him? That's 175. And then Adam, after that, then who are we left with? Martial, he's going to go on a free. So if we're looking at a cull of players, we're probably looking at between 150 and 175. And that is then hoping that the Sir Jim's negotiating team do a stellar job. So before they even buy a player, they've got to get rid of so much deadwood. Plus the fact the contracts those players are on, like Casemiro, we've all been seeing his praise now for the last 2 years, but he's on 350 per week. Yep. That's obscene money. Martial is on 250. Rashi's on 315. So that's a legacy of the former CEO, who apparently was dubbed as some financial mastermind by the Glazers. So we have legacy players left here on crazy wages, which straight away negates their sale value. So Sir Jim and his crew, they've got to work cut out.
Yeah, 100% they've got the work cut out. In terms of the players you mentioned there, I think Harry Maguire, on the money that he is on right now and the contract he's on, he's going to be going into his last year of his contract next season. So I don't know if we'd get that money for him. I would sort of value Maguire at 15. Varane is going to go on a free this summer, Jay, because his year is up. Then you look.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, his contract is up, so Varane can go for a free unless United sign him up and trigger the 1-year extension, which they've already said they won't do. So you're looking at Varane and Martial both going on a free. No one's going to pay any money for Donny. We forgot to even bring that into the equation. Antony, no one's going anywhere near half the price of what we bought him for. That's been said the other day as well. The one player that we have forgot about there, or what you didn't bring up, was the only one I think we've got any hope for right now, for all the wrong reasons, is Mason Greenwood. And we're definitely selling him. Romano is a tweet there at the bottom of the screen, guys. That's the latest one. I think we already knew this was going to happen. Romano's just come in and reminded everyone. I don't know why, but Greenwood is going to be sold this summer. 100% profit. Academy player. I reckon the way it's going at the moment, I think United could have got a lot more for him. I was going earlier on in the season for 80 million plus, but we're hearing stories now of 40, 50 million for Mason Greenwood. I mean, it would cover what we would lose from the Champions League, but at the end of the day, like you said there, Jay, from them players that you listed out there, I reckon Maguire, myself, probably 15 million, nothing for Varane. Then you're hoping you can get something for Rashford if he carries on sort of scoring goals and keeping relevant this season. McTominay, I think, will stay as a squad player. I don't think we'll get much for Antony. We won't get much for Casemiro, I don't think, because of his age. I think, what is he now, 31? There is rumour that he is very, very likely to go to Saudi Arabia, but he's also come out and said about Sir Jim Radcliffe and wanting to be part of the plan and getting on board with the squad and what United really are. Now, I just look at it and go, Luke Shaw for me is another one that probably needs to be looked at and replaced. We need a new player in every single position. Would you agree with that, Jay? For me, I think we need a player in every single position.
Yeah, we do. However, that's the utopian transfer window that no club ever gets in history of football. Like, look what Chelsea have done in the last 2 windows. They pretty much bought an entire new squad with these 5, 7, 10-year contracts, which has backfired on them. So I take the point. We do need a player in every position, but unfortunately, it's not going to happen. We're still going to be left with the deadwood from the Ole, Jose, Moyes era. Regarding Luke Shaw, look, I think we said in the show that we didn't feel that, unfortunately for Luke. I like him. I like him as a player. He never recovered from that leg break against PSV back, was it 06 or 07? That I'd never recovered from it. So unfortunately, he's gone out the door. And then Malacia, bloody hell, I don't know what's happened with that lad. So we don't even have a recognised left back. Then at right back, Dalot, he's hot and cold. Armand Bissaka, I think there's been rumours he's going to go. So to replace 11 players in an off season, unfortunately, Adam, as much as I want it and I want it to happen, I can't see it happening.
Welcome to the Members Club, Mike Sharp, gifted by the Honest Tiger. Good to have you back in the chat, Honest Tiger. We miss you, buddy. But yeah, some people just saying there, Palestra, you could get money for him. You could get money for Hannibal as well. We've obviously got Alvaro Fernandez, who is destined to stay out with that fee for Benfica now as well. But there's a left back that we probably could have used or utilised. The opinions out on him. He's not had enough game time to prove himself. That with younger players coming through, hopefully that is that is always a hope that you do find that talent within your own academy squad as well. But it is a big, big concern for me that Ineos right now, and they're doing, and it is impressive. Like we said, when you look at what they've done so far in Ineos, you have to be impressed. They're making all the right noises, but the time is coming. The clock is ticking now on this window opening up, and everything needs to be in place ready for it. I said earlier on the paper round, Jay, when I was talking this morning, that I'm really, really not the slightest interested in anyone coming in. Like, I really do not care about, but I'm not even thinking about the players coming in right now because I know what's in front of them, and until they move, we will destroy more players' careers. We will destroy another manager's career. It is the poison chalice. Manchester United will end you, or you will become an absolute legend. The days of the legendary players and managers coming out of Manchester United are a decade ago. There's no one who leaves Manchester United right now with any credit, really. It's very rare that you find a player that moves on from United and, well, goals from United and moves on to better things. That's what it always used to be like. But now it's a bit different. Now it's like they leave United because they have to survive, to actually have a career. They have to move from United. But you've got to then question what goes on at the football club and why these players actually want to stay. And that is this football club protecting these players and making them sound better than what they are. I've just got a super chat to read, but I want to speak to you about something that someone said to me in one of the comments from the videos yesterday, Jay. I think we should compare Villa/Spurs running, says Matt Ross. Honestly, Matt Ross, comparing both of their runnings, I just look at United, mate. Bournemouth, Brentford, Brighton, Chelsea, Palace away, 6 points. Newcastle, Arsenal, Liverpool at home. We've got Sheffield United and we've got Burnley at home. I know what you're saying, Matt. It may look tricky on paper for Villa, but nothing looks worse than what it is for Manchester United right now. I can see us picking up maybe 15 points from them, and we're already 8 behind. Can we expect them to drop that many points? Something drastically needs to change. Ten Hag needs to change something up. And if he does it, fantastic. But I just don't see it happening. Back to what I said then, Jay. Someone said yesterday, there was a few positive people outside Old Trafford yesterday. And obviously after a win's a win. There's no such thing as a bad win. I said that in my vlog yesterday after the game, Jay. But we know what we watched yesterday. And someone said in a comment on one of the videos earlier on, he said, Adam, don't let these fans put you off from what your real opinion is and how Manchester United are really playing. People's standards have dropped. People's standards and their acceptance of mediocre football are what driving this football club down. Is it a case that we have dropped our standards simply because we're used to it now? It's been over a decade, Jay, of mediocrity and dreadful dross football. We've had the odd shining light here and there, yeah, but are we just stuck in this lull? Does it need drastic change to get the fan base out and confident as well? Because all I heard yesterday was fans that just were completely detached from that game. It came across on TV apparently like there was no atmosphere. I mean, for that comment, just answering that question alone, Jay, please, like, have we lowered our standards to a point where we accept this mediocrity and try and make a positive out of what really wasn't that good?
Okay, and the first question I'm going to ask you is, what was the age profile of those individuals yesterday that were referring to standards being dropped and lowered? Were they of our generation or were they younger?
Yeah, there were some younger generation ones, I would say more, mate. Okay,
so unfortunately, that generation didn't grow up with the pomp and glorious years of the 90s and 90s under Ferguson, when, you know, we just grew up with high standards. We grew up in an era whereby finishing second was a disaster. We never, Adam, you and I growing up as teenagers and in our 20s, when did you ever have a conversation with your mates about finishing top four? I'd say never. Am I correct?
No, man.
Yeah, top four. That was never, ever. Yes, exactly. That was never even a conversation. I remember it was a famous Roy Keane interview. I think we got beaten by Leverkusen in, I think it was the quarter final of the Champions League and semi-final. Yeah, thanks for correction.
Balak's team,
and Roy was losing his rag live on air, and he was calling out players left, right, and centre live on air in the post-match. And can you imagine if Bruno did that now? First of all, he wouldn't do it because I don't think he'd have the balls or gumption to do it. And secondly, to your original point about United being a poison chalice, Bruno Fernandes, his standards have lowered since he's got here. So standards, unfortunately, Adam, have lowered for the players. They might come here with notions of grandeur and notions of success and winning titles and winning trophies. But 18 months in, 2 years in, I think the players' mentality, they're dragged down to the collective that's accepted within the playing staff and the coaching staff. So the player standards drop. And ultimately, I think your average punter watching who's in their early 20s, whatever, their standards drop to now, like top four is some sort of success. Oh, we got Champions League football. What we do, Champions League football, what, to get knocked out again in the quarterfinals? And you also made a point there, Adam, about where do our players go and where do they play? I'll take you back to the famous Football Heritage monologue that Jose went on. Remember, he said, see where United players play now and if they play. So that goes back to your point about standards are on the floor. The playing staff, the coaching staff, and our players, when they leave the club, where do they play, if they play. So unfortunately, it's a vicious cycle, Adam, between the fans, the players, and the staff.
100% agree with that, mate. It is. It's just like the acceptance of it really does me in. I'm coming to the chat now. Obviously, I do like to mix it up. There are some negative ones towards me as well. Christopher Whitaker, you stand out, mate, because you have said, has top 5 gone? Is the Pope Catholic? And my God, to say not being in the Champions League is some kind of positive thing is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in a long time. Well, you're welcome, Christopher. But if you listen to what I said, all we talked about for years is if we do qualify for the Champions League, how many of these players do you think will leave? The excuse will be made because of what we've just been talking about. Well, they've done it this time, so maybe they can make that next step up. They will still be here. We'll fall out of the Champions League again because these players are not good enough. They proved that this season. If we're not in the Champions League, then the buck stops with them this time because it's a new structure and everything changes. Everything has to change or United go backwards. And Sir Jim looks like a complete and utter tit because that 3-year plan is not going to come. It's not going to happen. So that is why it may be the silver lining of not being in there, because then these players have got nowhere to hide. They failed Ten Hag, they failed the fan base, and anyone who says that it was Ten Hag's tactics, it wasn't his tactics alone. These players, we've seen it. We've seen the attitude of these players. They will then be outed fully. Neil Driscoll, welcome to the Members Club. Look at the goal difference. Shameful, says Smitter. It is. We will be lucky to win free from that lot of games, says Judge and Jury. That is like, I mean, when you look at them games, Jay, right now, it's hard to see Manchester United getting anywhere near. 10 games to go, Jay. I look at it and I go, right, first of all, Brentford away in the league. Let's forget about the FA Cup. I don't even want to talk about it. It scares the living shit out of me. It scares the living shit out of me because with 9,000 Liverpool fans there as well to rub it in, if it does go Pete Tong, that will be, I think, a lot for Ten Hag to handle. And Ineos will be there. They have to be there for a quarter-final of the FA Cup with Liverpool. Hey, I'm talking about it now. Just as soon as I mentioned it, it drags me in. I knew it would do this. But they'll be there. They'll be watching. 9,000 Liverpool fans chanting while Manchester United section is emptying because we've been absolutely smashed off the park. And if Liverpool play like they did today against us on Sunday, then we are doomed. Definitely doomed. That hits home, doesn't it, Jay? If that stadium is empty, there's no atmosphere, but for 9,000 singing and screaming Liverpool fans, because they've done us again at Old Trafford, that will be hard for Ineos to ignore.
Yeah, I said on a previous show that when it was mathematically impossible to achieve Champions League football, that Ten Hag would be sacked. We're looking at the results today. Spurs don't look like doing a Spursy, do they?
No, I said that before the game, mate, this morning. I kind of jinxed it because then they went and smashed Villa 4-0. I was like, bollocks.
So if those players come out and capitulate against Liverpool, which I expect they will, and that stadium is intermixed with a chorus of boos from United fans, intermixed with the rapturous chants and cheers of the Scousers, and Sir Jim and Dave Bracefield are there, I think that could be the final nail into his coffin. Now, rightly or wrongly, he's not sending those players out to lose, to capitulate. He's not telling players not to track back, not to put a shift in. We know he's not. We know he's not. But at the end of the day, the manager will be judged by the players on the pitch. And I think that could be the final nail in his coffin, unfortunately.
Yeah, Kaz was right. We was listening to Gary Neville before on the overlap, and he was talking about Ten Hag being done. He's asking the question, but really he knows what's going to happen. He knows how football works. It's like we want Ten Hag to turn this around. The only thing that turns that around for Ten Hag is results. Like Gray says there in the chat, there's 30 points to play for. I don't think we get half of them. Just by the way we're playing at the moment. That's my fear. Now, there's games in there that United should be winning, but I also said we should have won. We should have beaten Fulham, we should have beaten Crystal Palace, and we should have definitely beaten Bournemouth at home this season. So I look at it and I go, you've got zero excuse, absolutely zero excuse as a manager for them results. It's like when he came out with a comment the other day, and he said, if I had all of my players fit, the process would have worked. If I had no problems and I had no injuries, I would have won 75 of my 100 games. Well, I'm sorry, when you're playing at home to Fulham, Bournemouth and Crystal Palace, no disrespect whatsoever. They've all had excellent seasons for what was expected of them. But this is Old Trafford, this is Manchester United. If you cannot win them 3 games, and by the way, 9 points in games that, you know what, we'd look at and go, we're not even getting carried away with, we got the win in that game. We've been in the top 4 right now. So when you say, Eric, that without injuries, without all of the problems and everything, and no club can handle this many injured players, let's think back to who was available when we played them games as well. Because Fulham, yes, you could argue it was a bit like sparse. But Bournemouth, you know what I mean? Crystal Palace, again, we nearly lost against Brentford at home, but for McTominay in the last few minutes, you look at them games, which United at home should be winning, you're in the top 4 right now. Yes, it's if, buts and maybes, but I just don't think you can use injuries and blaming a season and the disaster, because no one would be saying this is a disastrous season if United was sat in 4th right now. We'd be saying we've fallen off a bit, but we're still there, we're stable, and we're level, Jay. There is a level where you go. Liverpool do it. Liverpool fall off, but they never come out of the top 4. There are bad seasons here and there, but they don't come out of the top 4. It's embarrassing for us to be using excuses when we've lost that type of game this season, because that would have made all the difference.
I think Ten Hag is a great man for excuses. It's like saying if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. The writing was on the wall for Ten Hag against Wolves, the first game of the season. We were abysmal against Wolves. Should have lost that game. Midfield, absolutely overrun. We weren't behest with injuries back then. So I think from the very first game of the season, Adam, Ten Hag, the writing was on the wall with the way the players are performing and the way he set them up. So, you know, he's a great man for if we could this, it's could have, would have, should have. Basically, he hasn't done it. The players haven't done it, and ultimately, he's going to pay for it, and that's the hard and fast reality of football.
It definitely is, mate. Guys, we've just hit the 150 like mark. Let's see if we can get that up to 300 on the stream today, guys. I'm setting you a target. Come on, give me the likes, people. Everyone in the chat right now, like the video if you're loving the content. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button as well, people. And do download our SofaScore app. Bottom right-hand corner there's a QR code for you to scan. Or you can drop in the description. There is a link there right at the top with SofaScore. All of your up-to-date scores, injury news, player ratings and stats. Everything going on and off the pitch for your team. All the way down to the EFL and the National League. As well as international football. And other sports as well. Direct to your phone. Fast. And the best bit, it's free. So get it downloaded, people. Use our link below or our QR code. Download SofaScore. They are the best and sharpest out there for all of your apps and up-to-date news in football. Great stat from Steffen has just been brought up there. Absolutely immense. Arsenal's plus goal difference is more than goals scored for Manchester United this season. How do we explain that one, Jay?
Stephanie, that's an absolute banger of a stat, and I bet you got that from SofaScore. I have it on my own phone. It's a fantastic app. Wow, Stephanie. Like, how does one even respond to that? Look, it's hard for us as United fans here to give Arsenal credit, but I think you have to. They actually have the very, very discerning football philosophy. We've been slagging them off for years. They're fans of their manager, but they're doing things right. Mm-hmm. There's no prima donna. The prima donnas that team are gotten rid of. The biggest prima donna, that German chap, his name escapes me now. He was gotten rid of. So they run at the football club, and if they win the title, again, we got to give them credit.
Yep. Well, that's it. It's horrible to say. It's horrible to see. I mean, Arsenal are only hope that City don't actually capitulate our record right now. It's like how Manchester United have allowed City to just completely blow Sir Alex Ferguson's records away is an absolute embarrassment for the football club. It really is, and it just absolutely destroys me inside as a fan. Yes, I know Liverpool did finish 5th last season. We're talking in general. Like, they don't fall off like United fall off. They fall off, and occasionally it may come out like they did last season, but straight back in. Finishing outside the top 4 and challenging for a title, there's your difference. That's the difference, you know what I mean? There's always something there in a way there. They reset and they go again. United, I don't even think we reset. We just carry on, accepting that, oh, that's all right. We had an all right season. Liverpool had an awful season. And I come back looking at the bleeding quadruple. There's a difference. Come on, think about it. It's completely night and day. It really is. I'm into the chat right now. Neil Driscoll says, Liverpool have lots of injuries. Look where they are in the league and won the cup final. No excuses. Tony says Maguire's 25 million. Glenn says September 2024, UEFA will have 5 teams from each European countries next season, 2024-25. No, it's not 5 teams from each country. There's only 3. No, there's only 2 that get an extra place in the Champions League. That's how it works. Big up, Jay, you legend, says Steffen and Mike. We would run less than we do now if able to play possession football, but last match they only managed 2 times to have 10 passes or more without losing the ball. That's disastrous. The bottom line is the squad doesn't play as a team, says Paul. And the previous comment was from Mike. Thank you for them comments, Mike. On that game yesterday, Jay, I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. Mine was one of, without the penalties, we wouldn't have won that game. Sean Dyche came out and said, I can't believe how many chances I've come away with there that we've wasted at Old Trafford. That's the most I've ever experienced managing a team at Old Trafford. Your takeaway from the game yesterday, and are you with the positives, the win, or, again, it's just been papering over a big gaping crack?
I only saw the highlights because, as you know, I was travelling, but I'm glad I hadn't sit through 90 minutes of that drivel. I know we'll all take winning and win ugly, and we've said previously, sports about winning and win by any means necessary, all those cliches, but we've been winning ugly all season. You take winning ugly now and again.
Yeah.
But who were playing 2 penalties, and they are penalties, they were bona fide penalties, and the very fact then, what kind of annoyed me was that Bruno had to give Rashford a charity penalty just so Rashford got 2 goals in 2 games. That kind of annoyed me, because for me, you're the captain of the team. What happens if Rashford missed that penalty? We're now only winning by 1-0, and you're actually allowing the other team to come back at us. So for me, that was the mark of a bad captain.
Yeah, honestly, that's how a lot of people seen it outside, Jay. It was like, yay, it's a win. That's how it was the weirdest atmosphere ever.
Jesus.
And do you know what? Is it one of the papers this morning I was talking about on the paper round? They were talking about the actual atmosphere in Old Trafford and how it seemed to be disconnected. It's like people said, did United fans forget that Rashford actually scored his penalty? Because there didn't even seem to be a cheer. We just know what's coming. It's like we're so used to the mediocrity now with this team and the excuses coming out that you just don't expect a performance now. I mean, that opening 10 minutes was we was just in kamikaze mode. The passing was horrendous. It was just like, you were like, oh my God, already? Are we doing this already? I just don't understand the lethargic movement of the ball. And then I watched Liverpool and City today and I was just like, oh my God, we are miles away. You can forget the 3-year plan. It just goes to show you today that Manchester United are light years away. Absolute light years away from getting anywhere near Liverpool, Arsenal and City. There was 1 team. Now there's 2 teams. Now there's 3 teams we're falling behind. How long before it becomes 4 and 5? It needs to stop now. Radical changes need to happen now and this summer. And if we are not in that Champions League, then I feel like we will be forced into them radical changes more than what we would if we were in the Champions League. I just look at it that way and go, if there was ever a shot in the arm, it would not be qualifying for the Champions League and being so far away from it. I mean, Jay, look at that table on the screen there. Brighton and West Ham are within a result away from knocking us down to 8th in the table and out of the Europa League. That is a reality right now. We were talking about them games. 30 points, Jay, to play for in the last 10 games in the league. How many do you reckon? What's your bet?
Okay,
How many
30.
points we're getting?
Okay, 30 points. This is kind of do you answer it with my heart or my head? My heart says 20. My head says anything between 12 and 15 points out of 30, which is shocking. Like, that is Conference League football standard. That's not even Rugby League for standard. That's what we are, mate.
That's it. Because you look at it, 47 points United are on. 20 points gets us to 67. We know 67 is not going to get Champions League. And the more you look at it, the more you look at it, the more you're thinking, damn, man, we're in a fight for Europa League here. I was talking earlier on, I was singing, whoa, whoa, I was thinking Europa League music and everything. What's the colour of the... I know the Europa League's purple, like a orangey colour, innit? What's the Conference League's the green, innit? So we're going to have the green logos around Old Trafford for the first year of Ineos coming in. Whoa! That, for me, is why I don't think Ten Hag will survive. That, for me, is why I think radical changes will happen, because that will be the depths of despair. That will be Banter FC central. The fan base will be absolutely dejected beyond belief, and they would need to act this summer to turn anything around or convince anyone. It would need major, major statements, sells, never mind buys, players leaving. It would be absolutely huge. Absolutely huge, Jay. I just feel like, in a way, and we've said this all along, and I've spoken to loads of people who said, to get rid of the Glazers, I'd get relegated. Well, I think to go really forward, I think we have to take a bigger fall, me. That's the way it has to be. And like Barada, Dan Ashworth, whoever else comes in, Brailsford, Jim Radcliffe, they can all look at this and go, holy shit, we have got a serious problem right now. We need to get serious work done. But Neville said before, Jay, he reckons behind the scenes, Dan Ashworth, Barada, Sir Jim, they will already be scouting out the next manager. They'll be scouting out the next man. Do you feel like that has to be the case right now?
Listen, I've got no doubt they already have a short list of 3 to 5 managers already, and they're already doing their due diligence. Like, there's so many teams this next season coming, looking for a manager. Ajax want a manager, Liverpool want a manager, Barcelona want a manager, and also let's put it in context. There's no way Sir Jim or Dave Brailsford have come in to play in a Champions League C Cup, which essentially is what the Conference League is. The C Cup. It's the third tier. You're playing such luminaries as whoever finishes second in the Irish League. Now, I don't know if anybody from Ireland is watching, but Irish football, League of Ireland, is not of a great standard. That's just fact. But they usually end up in the that Conference League, and that's the standards. You imagine Ireland, an Irish team, end up playing at Old Trafford in a Conference League in a group stage. That could be the level that our once great club could drag out to, and you know, Sir Jim and Dave Brailsford and Ashford and those gentlemen, they haven't come to this club for that level of football and that ignominy. And I think that would be the ultimate ignominy. I'm using that word over and over again because that is the level that the Glazers have allowed that club to stoop to. The ignominy of Conference League. Just let it sit with you for a second, Adam, and everybody watching.
That would be it. Would you take no European football rather than being in that?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Sign me up now for 9th place. A massive clear out. You alluded to already. No. Oh. So Adam, mate, right? You already alluded to you wanted 11 players gone, right? So I'll throw a question back to you, right? If finishing 9th or 10th meant you got that clear out of 11 players and a new manager and a proper Adam, everybody watching, a proper reset. We're starting back, reset, level 1, grade 1, and we build again. And now start your 3-year plan. Would you have that?
I mean, I would firstly say I want United to win, but I'd be that pissed off if we didn't win the games and we went to that level that I would be convinced that we would be starting again and these players would be going from the football club. I think that's where I'm at with it. None of us want to see United lose games. We know that. We're saying that because these players have let us down so much that we've got that fear in us that they may take us to this place that we're talking about now, Jay. Well, we don't want to be there, but if we are there, then you know what? I think it might actually be what we need. That big fall before we do start to rise again. Because all we're doing at the moment is just clinging on to the cliff face. Like, literally just holding on with our fingers right now. We're still here, shouting up. We're still here. Every now and then pop our heads up and get into the top 4. We're still here, but we cannot get our leg over and get back up onto the top tier. It's just impossible for us, it seems. So maybe we do have to fall down, restrap, get back up, get bigger restraints in, stronger restraints, build the foundation again. Whatever it takes to restructure and move up. I do believe that there is a fall coming. And like I said all along, I think patience is going to be key. It's going to be very key. And do you know what? If he does turn it around and we start to see a rejuvenated team, I'll be the first there congratulating him and saying we got it wrong. You were right about the players that were out. But I just know, like I described, there weren't as many players missing at the start of the season when we were still losing games. There was still no style of football. So that for me is always going to be there, and is always going to be the convincer that we are struggling under Ten Hag. I feel sorry for him, I really do. But it is going to be one hell of it's going to be a monumental task ahead. Ben is in the house. Draughty's here, everybody. Welcome, Ben. Into the chat we go. Let's see, guys. This is your chance of the show to ask me and Jay anything you want, any questions, anything you want to bring up that might have been missed this weekend as well. We need Pickford's We need Pickford's, not the keeper, the removal company. I don't know what that means. Did I miss something on that one? Maria says, should get Europa League. We need European football next season. Mike says, hey guys, that's a little to Manchester, the town centric. Man U needs to be in the big games. But if out one season for a rebuild, that works then okay. So another person is saying there, one season only, Jay, is what we can afford. We just cannot afford to drop and drop and drop. And I think actually still being in Europe has kept us relevant, but we've not had the hierarchy and the structure to actually make some big calls and get rid of players, have we?
No, we haven't. And if you look at the last big fall that we had before you and I were even a twinkle in our father's eye, when we won the European Cup in '68, we got relegated in '74. And I've talked to some old school fans in Ireland, and they've said that they went to games that season they were playing in second division, and it was one of the best atmospheres they were ever at Old Trafford. So it took the doldrums of the 70s and the 80s to finally reach the exalted status of Ferguson in the 90s and noughties. Now, I'm not saying we're not going to get relegated, that's beyond. But sometimes, you know, a club, an organization, a business needs that fall, and you have to experience that level of want and desire to completely reset, to build again. And if that means no European football and Sir Jim does his 3-year reset, and in 5 years' time we're challenging for a title, Adam, I'll take it, mate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true. We have a couple of questions in, actually. One from George. He says, question for Adam. Did you receive any weird letters last year out of interest? I did. I received a very threatening weird letter last year. Probably not so much weird, more expected from where it came from. Michael says, which young left-back would Manchester United sign in the summer? Jay, have you got a left-back you would want to bring in? Is it going to be Harry Amas from the under-18s Academy? Are we going to promote someone through? Or is there a left-back out there that you would want to bring into Manchester United?
Adam, to be quite frank, I don't actually know because I haven't done research on a left back. So I'm not one to go on the show as going to bullshit. If I haven't done research on something, I'll call a spade a spade. So right now, I don't have an answer.
I mean, on that, Jay, you would expect your football club, supposedly one of the best in the world, to bring that answer to you, would you not?
Yes, I would, but based on recruitment over the last 15, 20 years, I'm not inspired with confidence. But Dan Ashworth is a stellar example of how to recruit. So I would refer to him what he's done in his career.
Mm-hmm. Jarvis Cocker with a worrying statement there. Our comment says, I bet Sancho and Danny will stay next season. Only way to get rid is if players running down their contracts. That's a horrible thought. Adam and Jay will not pay Newcastle 20 million for Ashworth. I think the Glazers have blocked it. Do you both agree? Your opinion, please. I don't think the Glazers would block it. I think it is down to Ineos to make that happen. I don't think we will pay 20 million, but I did say it a while ago. Did Ineos make a mistake in coming out so bullish and going right in for Ashworth, and then Sir Jim coming out and saying in that interview that it's ludicrous, we're not going to be paying that sort of money? I do think he made a mistake with that. I do. But Jay, on your thoughts on that one, do you feel like it will end up costing Ineos this? Or do you think they'll stick to the guns and see this out in the long term with Ashworth?
I don't believe it's going to cost 20, and Newcastle have every right to ask for the maximum value they can get. They probably asked for 20, to settle on between 10 and 15. Was Jim too bullish? Probably yes, but at the same time, you got to recall, Jim is trading off the Manchester born and bred, one of Britain's most successful businessmen entrepreneurs. So he has to come across as bullish to the fan base to win the fan base over. So he's caught between a rock and a hard place there. He's not going to really come in meek as a little kitten. He has to start with a statement of intent. Mm-hmm. And was it too bullish or not? That'll be seen in the fullness of time. But Newcastle are within the rights to ask 20 mil, but they won't get it.
No. Sorry, guys. I was just moving away from my mic there. I was getting very comfortable talking about Manchester United, just dreaming and daydreaming about the glory days again, and just moved away. Hopefully you can hear me a little bit better right now. But yes, I just seen a comment there from Steffen. It says, let's get that 250 mark. I did ask you all for 300 likes, but you're letting me down big time. Please give the video a like, guys. Keep it up. Let's get that 250 at least. He needs to finish his contract. He needs to get rid of the players he tried to sell last summer. The players have to let him down big time. I've let him down big time this season. The club need to back him for his final year. The problem with that is, Maria, he won't get a final year because the manager's not going to go into a final year without a confirmation or a guarantee that he's going to get a new contract. It's give him a contract now or sack him. It's just the way football works. One or the other will just, that'll happen. It really will, I feel. There's no manager, I don't think, goes into the last year of his contract and sees it out. I mean, what's the point in buying a player if you've got no guarantee that you're going to be working with that player 2 years down the line? There's no plan. And I don't think it's right for the club to do it. I think they should either commit to Ten Hag and give him a contract and say, look, let's start planning ahead. Because last thing Ineos can do is effectively sack a manager 18 months into this 3-year plan and restart again. It's not going to happen. And it's why I'm convinced that Ten Hag will get the boot. Not through wanting or thinking he hasn't got something and can actually do something. I do think that Ten Hag can do something. I just feel like he's gone too far now and it's impossible for him to bring it back. He needed to hit the ground running and carry on. He did sort of do it last season, but the fall-off, the dramatic fall-off this season, everything that's gone on, has just made it impossible for him to turn it around in the time that he's got. And I think he will be fired, and we will have a new manager come the start of next season. Definitely. Question. Do you see Ten Hag getting desperate? Will he do a Rangnick and be more outspoken in his final months? Well, Jay, I'll come to you on that one. That's from Jarvis, who says, do you think he will start turning into the man that comes out like Mourinho and Rangnick did and start out in the club more? Do you feel like Ten Hag has got it in him? There were some talk in the papers this morning. I think there's the Sunday Mirror was saying that Ten Hag's threatening to leave Manchester United. Do you feel like it is going to go sour? It's inevitable, is it not?
Okay, first of all, hi Jarvis. I know Jarvis is watching from Norway, so pick up Jarvis. Yeah, I saw in the papers the manager, is a Klopp's assistant manager possibly in line to manage Ajax? Is that the story? Am I correct on that?
And Ten Hag is also on the shortlist for Ajax again next season.
Okay, so it is a case now of you back him or sack him. The minimum requirement Ten Hag this season was consolidate top four. That was the bare minimum requirement. He hasn't done that, and he's not going to do that. So, without that caveat in place, I think he will be sacked. Mm-hmm. And the third thing that I was saying that is he's not going to win the FA Cup. Van Gaal was sacked after winning the FA Cup because Mourinho was already in situ. Gary Neville has alluded to it most directly that the club are already made overtures towards looking at other managers, and I do believe they have a short list. So it's not a matter of if, Adam, it's a case of when. That's what I firmly believe.
Yeah, that's it. A couple of questions before we finish up. Neil says, Adam and Jay, would you buy another goalkeeper and sell Andre Onana? Would you give Onana a chance, Jay, with it only being his first season?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was vehement in my criticism of Onana a couple of shows back. I would like to think that Onana has turned a corner. That being said, I would hire another goalkeeper that would put pressure on Onana. I think the Turkish chap that came in, Bandir or Bahadir, whatever the pronunciation is, yeah. He hasn't been given a fair run of the mill. And when we saw that Onana came back so early from the African Nations Cup, I think Onana feared for his place a little bit. But Ten Hag, that's his goalkeeper. So another manager comes in, I'm sure he will have a different philosophy on a goalkeeper. So I think Onana, I'm not saying his days are numbered, but I think he'll definitely get next season, and then they'll reassess his position after that.
Yeah. A question: is sacking Erik Ten Hag the best way to address the issue, or just a way to shift the blame? You could look at it so many different ways. You could look at Ten Hag really not being the man to take Manchester United forward in the style that Ineos are talking about, the fast attacking football, the goal difference factor that we brought up earlier on, and United not being able to score goals. I think he's going to play a big key role in this. The players have to go. If the manager goes, the players have to go. I think everyone agrees with that. But the reality is, I don't think it's going to happen. I feel like some players will survive this because the manager is going. And that's where he's not going to be able to change the fan base or get the fan base on board to Jim Ratcliffe. Because he will know. He's spoken to Ralf Rangnick. He knows. He knows where the problems are at this football club. His decision is Ten Hag and the way he plays and what Ten Hag is used to. Is he the man that's going to work best with the team that he's put in place at Manchester United? That's the Jim Ratcliffe. He's shown that he wasn't able to turn this squad around this summer. It was good enough to get top 4 at the start. We finished 3rd last season and won the Carabao Cup, and we added players to it. There was no excuse, really. We should at least be getting top 4, and we're miles away from it. So he's going to look at that. He's also going to look at the fact that he hasn't seen a style of play, and there's nowhere else look like we're going to get one. So that, for me, are the deciding factors. The players, I think that's the big one for him, and hopefully in the summer we will see some action on that. But guys, we've run out of time. That is it for this week. It is done and dusted. It finished with a win for United, but good result for Spurs today has pretty much summed up where we're at right now. Tougher, harder games to come for Manchester United over the coming weeks now, and I feel like the pressure is going to mount, and it could start to get a little bit sour unless Ten Hag returns from the international break, because I'm not going to count this FA Cup this week. I don't want to think about it, but the league is what is important right now and where we finish. But guys, absolutely brilliant content again from you guys. Comments, brilliant. Well involved in the show and loving all of your input and all of your help and contributions as always, guys. Make sure you please give the video a like on your way out. Jay, where can the people catch you? What's your socials? What you're up to? What's happening this week, mate?
You can find me on TikTok at RealJDaily and on X at JD Mourinho. This week, what am I at? I don't plan too far ahead. Go to work and see the mess ups they've made the last 4 days while I've been away. That's pretty much tomorrow.
Yeah, well, we start a fresh week tomorrow. Hopefully with, I don't know what news we're going to get. It's a build-up to Liverpool in the quarter-final of an FA Cup. So we've got to try and be positive on that side of things. There's a lot to look forward to until after the game. But let's try and be positive through the week. I've got a week planned of content for you guys. Again, loads of different stuff. As always, you know what it's like, mixing it up completely. It's the big one next weekend. How will we feel this time next week? I think it's going to be key to how we see out the rest of this season. Guys, that is it. Give the video a like, guys. We're nearly at the 250 mark. Make sure you are hitting that subscribe button as well if you are tuning in for the first time. I love you all. Fantastic week. Cheers, everybody, for continuing to back the channel and be there in the shows for us. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Mother's Day, people. And by the way, happy Mother's Day.